Hey, what's up, guys? Tony here, and you're watching some more MLB 14 Road to the Show with Chester Adams, my starting pitcher. And in this episode, I want to do something a little different, because if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know I'm a big Padres fan. And if you're new, this is the first time you're seeing one of my videos, I just told you, I'm a big Padres fan. I've been a Padres fan all my life. Born and raised in San Diego, and I'm just one of those guys. There are some people that are not like this, but I'm just one of those guys where I'm always rooting for the hometown team. I mean, it makes sense, right? Especially living in a place that has two. Well, actually, at the time we had three when the Clippers were here in San Diego. But being a San Diego sports fan, it's just hometown. You got Chargers and the Padres. Big time Chargers fan, big time Padres fan. And I'm sure if you haven't heard, you've definitely lived under a rock, especially if you're a sports fan. But yesterday, Tony Gwynn passed away. And needless to say, the entire community of San Diego and the entire baseball community at large is definitely in mourning right now. And the one thing that I'll just flat out say it, I was actually more upset about the news than I ever could have thought was possible to be upset for the passing of someone that I didn't actually know. And so anyways, what I wanted to do is I just kind of want to talk about the things that I guess the reason why I want to talk about this is just because Tony Gwynn had an impact on my life, even though he didn't know it. And I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of people, and from the interviews that I've seen, there's a lot of people that echo the same sort of sentiments. I knew him specifically as a baseball player. I met him once, and I didn't even get a chance to meet him, and I'll talk to you about that at the end of the video. But basically, when I was younger, he was that player that we all kind of wanted to be. And because he was just a phenomenal hitter. I mean, his records, they speak for themselves. But he was that guy, like I said, that everyone wanted to emulate, everyone wanted to be. And when I was in high school, I was going through a period of my life my baseball life, where I just wasn't hitting very well at all. And I wanted to be the best hitter that I could be. And I bought Tony Gwynn's book, The Art of Hitting, and I read that book cover to cover so many times. And I didn't buy it. I guess I made my parents buy it for me. But then after that, after reading that book, I had my parents buy me a batting tee and wiffle balls, and I followed all of his instructions to the tee. And it was a really, eye-opening and interesting book. But it showed me what sort of hard work I needed to put forth to become a better hitter. And it was really strange because as a rec ball player, I was a really good hitter. I never struggled. Playing baseball, I never struggled playing baseball until I got to high school. And that was the first time that I had a hard time. I was a good fielder. I had no problem fielding, but for the first time ever in my baseball career, at that time, I had a hard time hitting. I couldn't hit the ball. It was just difficult. I mean, a big reason is because the competition got stiffer. When I was playing rec ball, I was usually the biggest, strongest, fastest kid out there, and then suddenly you're playing against other people that are the biggest, fastest, strongest kids in their rec ball leagues. So you're no longer the big fish in the small pond. I found myself to be the small fish in a big ass ocean, and I lost a lot of confidence because of that. And reading his book gave me a lot of confidence, and I sort of sillily, it's not even a word, but I foolishly, I guess, drew parallels between him and myself because, my name's Tony, his name's Tony. He has a younger brother, Chris Gwynn, who played for the Dodgers and the Padres and I think a couple other teams. And my younger brother's name is Chris, and we both played baseball. And And so I felt like a kinship to the man, to a man I didn't really even know. You know, he was just this guy. I mean, I don't really use this sort of cliche, I guess, very often, but he was my childhood baseball hero. I really looked up to him, and I know a lot of other people did, and so that's why we're especially sad that he died, that he passed away. He was like such a staple here in San Diego, and you know, when he had the opportunity to go other places during his career, but he stayed here in San Diego, and that sort of loyalty is lost in baseball now. We don't see that anymore. I think I remember him taking a pay cut. Like I think they made a big deal about how he took a pay cut to stay here in San Diego and not go somewhere else. You know that wouldn't happen today. I mean, you know, a player like that, you know, an organization like the Padres, especially in the condition that they're in, they would trade him for someone like they'd trade their future Hall of Famer for some low, you know, AA prospect or some crap, so they could just offload the talent or offload the potential high salary that they would have to pay. But anyways, you know, I know there's a lot of people that feel the same way as I do, and it's a very sad sort of time for sports, especially because he died so young. That's really, I mean, 54. I mean, my parents are older than he is, but what I want to do is I want to share this one story, that the only time that I've actually sort of met him, but not really. A couple of years back now, I was working at Best Buy when I was working there as a seasonal employee. And it was after the new year, because I worked there till February before they let the seasonal people go. And I think it might have been January. It was probably definitely in January, mid-January. And Tony Gwynn came in. I was working at the San Marcos store, so it was pretty far away from San Diego State, where he was working as the head coach of the Aztec baseball team. But he came in, and he was buying, I think it was like a DVD player and some other things. And so I was working as one of the cashiers, and I was not the one that attended to him. It was with this other coworker that I had, and she didn't know who he was. And we were working, our stations were like I faced her and she was facing me. So like I'm facing Tony Gwynn. I'm like standing right next to him, and I can tell that he knows that I know who he is. I recognized him, but he was otherwise occupied because he was, you know, paying for his stuff. And I remember the conversation because she was taking his information down because she was signing him up for a Best Buy Rewards Zone card. And I'm just sitting here going, it's like, oh my God, you're talking to Tony Gwynn. And like, it just was strange for like, he's just sort of giving out his personal information. And so I remember she asked like, oh, what do you do? And he's like, oh, used to be a baseball player. And she's like, oh yeah, no kidding. And I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I'd never have been starstruck in my life. I did a couple of movies in Los Angeles where I was working as an extra, and, you know, standing next to guys like Jamie Foxx and stuff. And I just was never really starstruck about that. But I was so starstruck about Tony Gwynn, like standing right next to Tony Gwynn. I wanted to say hi to him. I wanted to shake his hand. I wanted to tell him, you know, like how much of an impact he had on my baseball life. But I was so scared, and like my heart was just pounding, and I couldn't do it, and it sucked really bad. And so that's a big regret that I have. I really wish I would have just like took the time to shake his hand and just meet him. So I don't really know how to end this video, but I will just say again that it does suck that we lost him, and I don't think there'll ever be another player quite like him. So sorry for the downer video, but it's been kind of a downer last 48 hours for us here in San Diego. So thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I shall talk to you guys later.